The story begins with the human army capturing the mighty dragon and binding him in chains. Their so-called hero then drives a blade through the dragon's heart. The dragon, confused, wonders why the humans are attacking him, as he once fought alongside them. He refrains from fighting back, still thinking of them as friends, and pleads to be spared from such cruelty. After living for so long, he no longer has any desire to fight. Accepting his fate, he offers little resistance and crumbles away, asking the gods for eternal peace. But the gods have other plans. Instead of sending Dolan to the underworld, they reincarnate him as a human baby. When Dolan opens his eyes, he sees a man and woman looking down at him. The woman, excited, names him Dolan and introduces herself as his mother and the man as his father. She also mentions that Dolan has an older brother. Seeing their joy, Dolan assumes he has been reborn into a happy family. As time passes, Dolan grows into a tall young man who enjoys the simple life of his village. One day, as he watches the sunset, a girl named Eerie runs up to him. Dolan glances at her and the peaceful village behind her, feeling content. Eerie notices his small smile and asks if something is bothering him. He assures her everything is fine, and they head back to the village together. Dolan now lives in a small village called Varun, located on the northern border of the Arkrest Kingdom. After his death as a dragon, he was reborn here as a human and has been living peacefully ever since. The village's main industry is farming, so Dolan, like everyone else, works as a farmer. He wakes up to the morning sunlight, heads to the fields, and works to earn his living. He doesn't mind because this life gives him enough food and water. After having lunch, Dolan heads back into the village. In this world, when you turn 15, you're considered an adult. Dolan, who turned 15 a year ago, moved out of his parents' home to live on his own, although he still lives in the same village. He often goes fishing in the nearby forest with his older brother, using his favorite fishing rod to catch fish. His brother reminds him that tomorrow, he has to investigate the swamp near their village. Dolan explains why. For the past month, the lizards that usually live in the swamp have disappeared, which could disrupt the ecosystem. His brother, worried about his safety, offers to go with him. But Dolan insists that at 16, he's grown and can handle it on his own. He promises his brother that he'll only check the area and won't take any unnecessary risks. Dolan catches a lot of big fish and returns to the village with a full bucket. On his way back, he runs into his friends Malata and Albert, who are impressed by his catch. Malata asks why Dolan went fishing instead of preparing for the investigation. Dolan explains that he has been preparing little by little and assures her he'll be fine. He also thanks her for convincing the village chief to let him take on the job. Malata thanks him back, saying that Dolan has always helped her and Albert with their training. Dolan asks if they're heading out soon. Malata confirms they have a meeting about the next training session for the younger kids. But Albert tells Dolan not to worry and to focus on his investigation. Dolan says goodbye to his friends and heads home. He cleans a fish and seasons it heavily with salt. While preparing the fish, he talks about the monsters living around the village. And since this village is remote, there aren't enough soldiers to protect the villagers. So, the villagers have to help each other stay safe. Dolan dries the fish he caught in the sun. Then, Eri, the young girl from earlier, comes to remind him that today is his magic practice day. Dolan asks if she came just for him, but she says she was just passing by. Dolan then heads to his grandma's house to train. In front of his grandma and Eri, Dolan demonstrates how magic works. He recites a basic spell. He shouts Energy Bolt and shoots an energy blast that destroys a dummy. His grandma, Maguru, is impressed with his magic skills and praises him. Dolan credits her for teaching him so well. After his offensive magic training, Lady Maguru makes Dolan practice magical medicine, which he struggles with. After spending time practicing, Dolan meets an interesting woman in the evening. The village chief introduces her as Christina, a young noblewoman who will stay in the village for a few days. When Dolan shakes hands with her, he senses she is strong and skilled. Later, Dolan has dinner with his family, where it's revealed he has a younger brother named Marco. Dolan's dad suggests he find a wife since he's been lonely, but Dolan says he's happy staying single for now. His dad respects his decision, saying it's his choice as an adult. Marco mentions Dolan's upcoming swamp investigation, which worries their parents. Dolan reassures them that everything will be fine and promises to return with a good story to tell. The next morning, the village captain offers to go with Dolan, but Malata stops him, reminding him of his other duties. Letitia, the village nun, gives Dolan a simple blessing. His grandma, Magjaru, warns him that her fortune telling shows he might run into trouble, so she advises him to be careful. Just before Dolan leaves, Ari gives him a lunchbox for the journey. He thanks everyone for their kindness and sets off. He walks to the swamp, taking breaks to drink and rest. Dolan explains why the lizard's disappearance affects him. The lizards used to interact with the village, and their sudden disappearance seemed odd to him. That's why he volunteered to investigate. When he reaches the swamp, Dolan senses the Earth's elemental power has grown too strong, while the water's power has weakened. This is why the lizards left. He remembers his grandma's fortune, telling and suspects that something intentionally caused the elemental imbalance. Suddenly, he senses a strong presence and draws his sword. Only powerful monsters live in the swamp now, and he wonders how strong this unseen one is. The monster is a Lamia. She seems inexperienced in battle, moving clumsily. Before Dolan attacks, she makes it clear she doesn't want to fight. Just then, a giant earth elemental monster appears and attacks the Lamia. Dolan quickly cuts off the elemental's hand and hides behind a large mushroom with the Lamia. He explains that the elemental appeared for the same reason the lizards left: the elemental power imbalance. Dolan introduces himself, and the Lamia reveals her name is Selena. Since Selena can use magic, Dolan suggests they fight the elemental together. Though hesitant at first, Selena agrees to help Dolan. She casts a giant spell that summons a huge snake to hold the elemental down, giving Dolan the chance to close in. With his sword imbued with draconic magic, he leaps forward and slashes the elemental, defeating it. The sand from the elemental scatters, with some splashing on Selena, adding a lighthearted moment. That night, Dolan and Selena camp together. Selena is happy to find a human who isn't scared of her appearance. Dolan, having once been a dragon, has met far stranger creatures, which explains why he isn't afraid. Selena explains that she came to the swamp to find a husband, as Lamias need strong men who can survive their poison. She hints that Dolan could be a good match, but Dolan shows no interest. Instead, he cooks a stew using his mom's recipe and shares it with Selena, who loves it. She asks if Dolan loves his family, and he agrees, feeling pity for the lonely dragon he once was. The next morning, Dolan says goodbye to Selena, wishing her luck in finding a partner. He gives her some of his life energy as a gift, but it's too strong for her because it's still the energy of a dragon. As the sun rises, Dolan admires its beauty one last time before leaving. He tells Selena she's welcome to visit his home anytime. Selena encounters two men on her path, and they ask how she dares to travel alone. Selena responds confidently, stating that she is capable of protecting herself and is much stronger than they think. The men glance at her lower half and, upon seeing something terrifying, immediately flee. Selena tries to stop them, but they run away without listening to her. The scene shifts to Dolan, who is with Ari and their teacher, Meryl. Meryl explains that magical potions are made using magic, infused ingredients, unlike regular medicine, and therefore require more caution when preparing. As they talk, Ari and Dolan work on making potions. Meryl adds that even the smallest mistake in measurement or the added magic could threaten the life of the maker. Dolan fails to make a potion correctly, and Meryl tells him he still lacks skill in potion making. Ari encourages Dolan, saying he has a sharp eye for medicinal herbs and suggests he could volunteer to care for children. Dolan thanks her for her support, admitting that following complex recipes is challenging for him, but he promises to improve. Meryl compliments Ari's potion, making progress and suggests she go outside for a while. Ari happily agrees and mentions she will help her mother before leaving. Dolan, reflecting on his past as a dragon, talks to himself, explaining that he never needed medicine before, which is why he struggles with delicate tasks like potion. Meryl reassures him, praising his offensive magic skills and reminding him not to rush. As learning comes gradually, she offers to teach him how to turn his failed poisonous potion into an antidote. Later, at the dining table, Dolan thanks his friends for the meal, and everyone expresses gratitude to Meryl for hosting and feeding them. Afterwards, Dolan hurries to catch up with his training, but encounters Mio, who offers him a drink. At first, Dolan refuses, but Mio insists and hands him some milk, which he accepts and thanks her for before heading off. When Dolan finally arrives at the training grounds, he apologizes to Albert for being late. Albert gives the kids a break from training, making them happy as they run to Dolan, eager to show him their spear skills. Albert tells them to take their break, and suddenly Dolan senses the presence of a dragon in the forest. That night, Dolan, still feeling the presence of a monster, follows the sensation into the forest. To his surprise, he finds Selena there. Shocked, he asks her what she is doing in the forest. They sit together, and Dolan apologizes for scaring her earlier. He inquires why she isn't headed south to find a husband as he had expected. Selena explains that while she intended to, her communication with humans has been difficult. People were frightened and avoided her. Dolan expresses his happiness at seeing her again and offers to help her however he can. He suggests she live with them permanently, explaining that many people in the village live alongside monsters and humanoids. Though they might be cautious around her at first, they would eventually come to like her, and her presence would enhance their lives. Selena agrees and tells Dolan there is another reason she sought him out. She needs him to share some of his life energy with her again. Dolan agrees and transfers energy to her. The next morning, Balan, Marita, and the guards discover a large dead monster on the ground. They notice signs of an attack, and Merida tells them it was caused by a large snake. Balan identifies the creature as a Lamia, a powerful and dangerous monster. However, they wonder why the Lamia left its prey behind. Balan decides they must form a team immediately to eliminate the Lamia, but his friend advises caution. With only a few soldiers in the village, they should request reinforcements from the capital. Back with Dolan, he reflects on the deep divide between humans and monsters, but believes they will come to understand Selena's kindness. Meanwhile, the old witch advises patience, noting that the Lamia leaves them gifts and may not be as evil as they think. She suggests waiting longer to see how things unfold. At that moment, Ari enters the room and tells her grandmother that the predictions have appeared. She shows her the results, which the grandmother recognizes as the same ones she had seen before. The grandmother advises them to wait and see what happens next. Overhearing the conversation, Dolan is thrilled that the plan is progressing smoothly. Without delay, he rushes off to continue with the next stage of the plan, which is also the final phase. He arrives at Selena's location and informs her that the villagers' caution has lessened, and the likelihood of a team of exterminators showing up is low. Dolan congratulates her on the success of the gift plan, praising her efforts. He then tells Selena that they need to add the final touches to ensure the plan's full success. He instructs her to listen carefully and follow his directions exactly. The scene shifts to the villagers, where their leader addresses them, saying that the Lamia is still nearby. As the defenders of the town, they must learn how to protect their village. He announces that they will continue with the outdoor training session as planned, but warns the children not to wander off alone. The leader stresses the need for caution and preparation. Dolan, speaking to himself, acknowledges that the villagers are right to be cautious. Although they are alert, they are still essential for the final stage of his plan. He reflects on the Guardian Guild, the strongest force in the neighboring village, led by the powerful Balin and his deputy, Merida. He also thinks about Letitia, a nun who is both a healer and the village's spokespersons. Letitia could, at any moment, declare Selena evil and call for her execution. The scene then shifts back to Selena, who is hiding in the forest, feeling nervous. She recalls her conversation with Dolan the previous night. He had informed her that the villagers' training area would be in the Sharp Rabbit region and that he would intentionally run toward her lair. He told her that when he gave the signal, she should come out and save him, which would convince the villagers that she wasn't a wicked monster. Back in the present, the village leader is discussing the leadership when suddenly, one of the soldiers comes running, shouting that a monster has appeared. Dolan is surprised and confused because he hasn't given Selena the signal yet. He wonders if another monster has appeared. The nervous soldier clarifies that this monster isn't the Lamia. It's an armored bear. At that moment, the enormous bear emerges, tearing through the trees. It's a massive creature, as tall as a building, and the villagers are terrified. The leader warns them not to attack it, saying that the bear could kill them all with a single strike. Suddenly, Taro, the leader's son, trips and falls in front of the giant bear. The bear looms over the boy, but Selena and Dolan rush in just in time. Selena takes the blow meant for Taro and uses her powers to control the bear through her gaze, commanding it to retreat into the forest. The villagers are amazed by Selena's ability to control such a fearsome creature and realize she possesses great strength. Selena checks to ensure Dolan and Taro are safe, but the leader, Balan, is furious. He orders Selena to stay away from them. Dolan defends her, arguing that she saved both him and Taro and couldn't possibly harm them now. However, the leader insists that she is still dangerous and that he must protect the village. Dolan refuses to leave, protesting that Selena should not be repaid with hostility after her act of kindness. The leader questions Selena and learns that she was the one leaving food for the village. Selena pleads with them, explaining that she is an orphan with no one to help her. She asks to stay with them temporarily until she can leave on her own. As Selena begins to cry, she promises never to harm any humans. Her tears move the villagers, who start to see her differently and realize she is not as evil as the other Lamias. Just then, Selena collapses, weakened from the blood loss. Nearly 2 hours later, Selena wakes up and finds herself in a beautiful inn, where the villagers have taken her. She expresses her gratitude for their kindness. The village leader, Balin, apologizes for pointing his weapon at her earlier. Dolan approaches her, introducing himself as if it were their first meeting. Overcome with happiness, Selena sheds tears of joy, grateful that their plan has succeeded, feeling blessed by God.
Selena is shown in a house where everyone is speaking to her, and it seems that she will be fine there because everyone loves her. Later that night, something strange happens while Dolan is sleeping. His body begins to glow, and a second version of him, almost like a spirit, emerges. This spirit remarks that he hasn't used his terrestrial form in a long time and feels a bit nervous. So it then takes off into the sky at high speed, though it's unclear whether this is another world or something else. In the end, Dolan transforms into his dragon form and meets a girl who greets him warmly, recognizing him. She tells him that he's been dead for a long time, revealing herself as Meryl. Meryl jokes with Dolan and says she knows everything, especially about the Lamia, referring to Selena. Dolan thanks her, explaining that she made things easier for him, and his return as a human has changed his life. But he realizes that people on the surface live every day as if it's their last, making their lives seem fleeting to higher beings. Dolan is abruptly awakened when Selena enters his room without knocking, announcing that the promised day has come. Irritated, Dolan scolds her for barging in and tells her to knock properly next time. She apologizes and promises not to repeat the mistake. When she asks why he seems happy, Dolan tells her that he had a beautiful dream in which he saw an old friend. Curious, Dolan asks what she means by the promised day. Selena, annoyed, reminds him that he promised to help plant potatoes with Christina and that she would be upset if he forgot. The scene then shifts to a bustling marketplace where a newspaper vendor shouts about the latest news, particularly the case of missing women. However, the details of the case are not yet clear. The next transition takes us to a mansion where one of the girls knocks on the door and some strange fairy-like characters answer it. Inside, we meet a blonde girl with green eyes named Olivia, the headmistress. Another girl delivers a letter to her, and with the help of the fairies, Olivia uses magic to open it. The letter is from Christina, who is staying in the northern village of Varun. Christina's letter describes how Varun faces harsh weather and dangers due to its location far to the north of the city of Galloway. Because of this, the villagers must train in combat. The next scene shows Christina training vigorously, and during a sparring match, she disarms her opponent, causing them to surrender. The villagers celebrate her victory, and her opponent praises Christina's swordsmanship, though Christina kindly returns the compliment, encouraging her opponent by saying her sword was also fast and sharp. The commander of the training group congratulates Christina and invites her to lunch, where the villagers warmly accept her, even though she is an outsider. As they prepare the meal, they tell her to eat as much as she likes. But as she eats, Christina notices them staring at her, seemingly envious of her beauty. During the meal, the commander jokingly offers to have a drink with her, prompting the soldiers to tease that he will drink everything and leave Christina with the bill. The commander laughs and squeezes his comrades in jest. Later, Christina is in her room, struggling to fall asleep. She decides to go out into the garden to practice her sai. At this point, Dolan and Selena arrive, and Selena senses that something is bothering Christina. She invites Christina to come to her home, and Christina agrees. When they enter Selena's house, Selena expresses her love for home, particularly her bed, which she finds incredibly comfortable and perfect for sweet dreams. Christina is surprised because the bed appears messy. Selena invites Christina to lie down next to her, assuring her that the bed will make her feel warm and cozy. Selena then shares a bit about her past, explaining that as a Lamia, she was initially worried that the villagers wouldn't accept her, but over time, she grew to love the people of the village. She also mentions that Baleen, a villager, loves the milk his wife makes, and that he and the other villagers often compete to see who can drink the most milk in one go. Christina finally understands why Dolan attracts so many visitors. Selena mentions that Dolan's older brother is a skilled hunter, once catching a huge shark from the river, surprising her as she never knew fish of that size lived there. So Dolan adds that the villagers all have remarkable qualities. The next day, everyone heads to Balin's house for a milk drinking competition. When Selena and Christina arrive, they are warmly welcomed. Balin invites Christina to join the competition, and she agrees, curious to taste the milk Balin is proud of. Balin's wife quickly brings her some, and Christina finds it delicious. Balin then challenges her to see who can drink the most milk. Christina accepts, and they start the competition. In the end, Christina wins as Balin struggles to keep up. Afterward, Balin's wife offers Christina a special milk made by her daughter, Mira. Since Balin is too exhausted, she asks Christina to taste it instead. Christina finds the milk sweet and smooth and asks for another cup. Later, Olivia is seen reading a letter from Christina, delighted to hear that Christina has become closer to the villagers. Christina's friend remarks that it's no surprise, as Christina even befriended a Lamia. Later, a grand celebration is held, and people marvel at how Christina's actions prove that friendship between humans and monsters is possible. Her deeds become the talk of the town in Galloways. Kieran speaks to Olivia, showing interest in Selena, saying she is just as beautiful as Christina. Olivia questions why Kieran, a witch working for the government, is so interested in the Lamia. Kieran responds that Selena could be a potential threat, even if she appears harmless. Humans aren't meant to live with dangerous creatures like the Lamia, and the recent disappearances add to their troubles. Olivia replies that while the incidents are concerning, Selena is known for her kindness and wisdom, and her mother encourages people to live peacefully with her. Kieran insists they should prepare for the worst and summon Selena to the capital for questioning. At that moment, Gada, the commissioner of the northern borders, enters, saying the village falls under his jurisdiction and that he will send an envoy to handle the situation. So the scene then shifts to Dolan and the girls working in the field, where Dolan advises Selena to plant more evenly. Suddenly, Clythe arrives, urging them to hurry to the village gates. Gada has arrived with his knights and issues an order for them to take their positions. Gada introduces himself and questions Dolan about bringing Selena, the Lamia, to the village. Dolan confirms that he brought her, and Sister Parami defends Selena, assuring that the wisdom of their mother has deemed her not to be an evil monster. Gada clarifies that while he does not doubt their mother's judgment, he must follow protocol to ensure the village's safety. He plans to take Selena to the general government to prove she isn't a threat. Dolan questions why this is necessary if Gada trusts the mother's judgment. Gada explains that even if they believe Selena is harmless, they must follow the kingdom's laws. Dolan volunteers to accompany Selena, and Gada agrees but warns that it will involve formal procedures. As they prepare to leave, Christina expresses concern for Dolan and Selena, deciding to speak with the director, who has influence within the government. And meanwhile, in the carriage, Dolan checks on Selena, asking if she's in any pain from the long journey. Selena reassures him that she is fine, but admits that she is worried about the trouble she's causing. Dolan smiles and tells her to come closer when she feels anxious, teasing her about how he might have to scold her all night to keep her calm. Christina arrives at the director's office, asking for help regarding the commissioner's visit to the village. The director calmly tells her not to worry about Selena, as she has Meryl's approval. The commissioner, Gada, was not the one who decided to bring Selena in, it was the sorceress Kieran. Kieran views Selena as a potential threat and suspects her involvement in the recent disappearances, despite her peaceful life in the village. The episode ends with Selena and the group arriving at their destination, with Selena visibly frightened. The story continues with Christina telling Lady Olivia that Selena could never be capable of such actions. Olivia responds, explaining that, while it may indeed be impossible for Selena, given that she lives in Varen, suspicion could still fall on her if Kieran accused her. Christina is surprised by this, and Olivia explains that Kieran wields substantial influence within the general government. Christina asks if there is anything they can do to counter this, but Olivia warns her that acting impulsively could lead to accusations of overstepping their boundaries. However, Olivia adds, there is something else that troubles her. The scene then shifts to Dolan and Selena meeting Lady Ciaran, who welcomes them warmly. Dolan introduces himself, stating, I am Dolan from the village of Varen. I accepted the responsibility of escorting Selena here. Ciaran thanks them both and invites them into the palace for dinner. Selena is pleasantly surprised by the food and thanks Ciaran sincerely. Dolan advises Selena that if she plans to continue living in Varen, it will be necessary to visit Gallo at some point. Kieran adds that she will begin preparing the necessary documents the next day. Selena, feeling more at ease, says that she was initially frightened when the soldiers appeared, fearing they were there to harm her. Kieran reassures her, telling her that she would never order her execution, appreciating her purity and beauty. The story then returns to Olivia and Christina, where Good arrives. Christina asks what he is doing there and where Dolan and Selena are. Wodka replies that he needs to speak with director Olivia privately. The scene shifts back to Kieran, who comments on Selena's beauty, saying she has encountered many Lamia but finds Selena especially captivating. Suddenly, both Selena and Dolan faint. The scene then returns to Guda speaking with Olivia, asking if she has heard about the recent disappearances of young women in Gallo. Christina mentions that she has heard of it, but wonders what connection it has to Selena. Guda reveals that there is rumored to be a witch living in Gallo, said to be over 300 years old. Though the witch appears human, her longevity suggests otherwise. Christina asks if he suspects Selena, to which Guda replies, as expected from the Academy's best student, you've guessed correctly. He explains that the witch supposedly used forbidden magic to possess the body of a young woman, sustaining herself through it, and has now shown interest in Lamia. Guda warns that time is running short, urging them to leave immediately and promising to explain more on the way. Olivia confides that she hadn't wanted to involve Christina in this matter. The scene then shifts to Kieran, standing before the unconscious Selena, saying, I haven't captured a live Lamia in a long time, but soon you'll be mine. She raises a knife, contemplating skinning Selena as her next step. At this moment, Dolan regains consciousness and demands that Kieran step away from Selena. Shocked, Kieran questions whether she miscalculated the sedative dosage. Dolan, noticing a blood-stained magic circle on the ground, deduces that killing must be routine for her. Kieran admits she used the skin of a gloom lizard to create the restraints, then throws the knife at Dolan, who narrowly dodges it. He demands to know how many she has killed and for what purpose. Kieran admits she lost count long ago, explaining she kills for research, fascinated by beauty and collecting it to maintain her own. Dolan accuses her of engaging in forbidden magic and asks if she made a pact with a demon. Kieran reveals that she acquired her arms from a spider girl and her legs from a demi-human, intending to use every part of Selena without waste. At that moment, Selena regains consciousness and asks Kieran if she truly committed all those crimes and deceived others as she had done to her. She accuses Kieran of betraying those who came to her for help. Kieran is taken aback by the mention of Commissioner Gouda, while Dolan notes that cowards hide behind endless justifications. Both he and Selena reveal small magical devices in their ears, revealing they were transmitting sound, allowing Gouda to listen to Kieran's confession. An explosion suddenly erupts, and Christina enters with Olivia, Gouda, and several soldiers. Christina approaches Dolan, expressing disbelief that they risked themselves as bait to capture Kieran. Olivia apologizes for involving them in the scheme, while Gouda orders the soldiers to arrest Kieran. Olivia reveals that she had deduced Kieran's plan to frame Selena for the kidnappings, planning to report that she had to kill Selena in self-defense and subsequently use her body for her own purposes. In response, Kieran speaks with contempt, asking if they are addressing her with disdain. She retorts that they can't possibly understand the agony of aging. Her gaze intensifies as she laments the suffering she endured to attain beauty. She recalls how, in her youth, she was captivated by the world's beauty but felt excluded from it. Viewing herself as vile, she began to prey on young girls, killing them repeatedly, casting enchantments until her body transformed into what it is today. Returning to the present, she declares her intention to demonstrate the results of her 300 years of research. Suddenly, Ciaran transforms into a gigantic monster, her body grotesquely fused with different species, creating a terrifying and monstrous appearance. She demands they hand over the Lamia and attacks them with the combined strength of her various body parts, revealing that she made a pact with a demon. Ciaran sacrificed countless souls to gain these powers and fulfill her deepest desires. Kieran begins an assault on the soldiers, but Selena quickly uses her cursed eyes to halt Kieran's movements, freezing her in place. Seeing the opportunity, Olivia commands the soldiers to retreat from the room. Although the battle is far from over, this gives them a brief chance to regroup. Kieran tries to attack Selena again, but Christina intervenes, cutting off Kieran's fingers, and then swiftly severs her limbs, causing immense pain, especially after Kieran loses her leg. Enraged, Kieran gathers all her strength and launches a fierce attack on Christina. In response, Dolan resorts to using dark magic to end the fight. Gouda warns him about the devastating power of such a spell, and Olivia agrees but stresses that time is running out. They need to act quickly, as Olivia cannot summon spirits from beneath the earth to help. Dolan assures Selena and Christina that he will handle the situation from here, activating a powerful barrier spell using a different magic circle. He confronts Kieran, asking if she truly finds satisfaction in what she is doing. Ciaran, consumed with anger, responds that she doesn't need his pity and boasts that her magical power has long surpassed human limits. She declares that soon they will all bow before her beauty. Dolan retorts, explaining that true beauty can never be achieved with blood-stained hands. He reminds her that the bodies she consumes belong to people with hopes and dreams for the future and were never meant to be devoured by someone like her. With that, Dolan unleashes his magic, vanquishing Ciaran within moments. The following day, Selena is studying with Dolan, but she feels exhausted from the lessons. Dolan gives her a break, and Selena complains that her head feels like it's about to explode due to the overwhelming information. Dolan encourages her to keep going, explaining that she needs to express her thoughts in the local language and that he's eager to see what she will write. Selena remarks that her cursed eyes seem to force her into difficult situations, keeping even Dolan trapped in the palace with her because of them. At that moment, Christina enters and asks if Selena has made any progress. Dolan replies that she has learned to read a little. Soon after, Director Olivia and Commissioner Gouda arrive unexpectedly, surprising everyone. Gouda, still managing the aftermath of the recent incident, apologizes for involving them in such a dangerous affair. Dolan admits he was shocked when Gouda suggested using them as bait to lure out Kieran, but thanks to an antidote his teacher provided, they were safe and immediately counteracted Ciaran's sedative. Gouda explains that the general government feels ashamed for allowing one of their witches to commit such terrible crimes. He then hands them 2 documents. The first is a permit for Gallo, and the second is a registration that allows Selena to live in Varen without any issues. Gouda assures them they always believed in her goodness and apologizes for the long wait. Selena is overjoyed and tells Dolan that he's very different from when they first met. Olivia then mentions that someone wants to meet Dolan, and Denzel approaches, greeting Dolan and expressing surprise at seeing him in Gallo. He explains that the director has shared Dolan's recent accomplishments and suggests they tour the city together. As they walk through the main street, Denzel mentions that anything they might need can be found there. However, the townspeople keep their children away from Selena, and everyone seems frightened of her presence. Selena suggests to Dolan that they buy gifts for the villagers in preparation for their return. Later, an old man thanks Dolan for his assistance, and Denzel suggests that Dolan consider joining the academy. Denzel explains that he discussed this with the director, who recognized Dolan's extraordinary magical power, insisting that it would be a shame for it to go unused. Dolan politely declines, explaining that he is busy with responsibilities in his village. Olivia steps closer, advising that if Dolan wants to use his power to help others, expanding his knowledge at the academy could be beneficial. Denzel adds that to protect his beloved village, he might need to leave it temporarily. This thought lingers with Dolan as they leave him to consider their offer. Later, Christina speaks with Dolan in the carriage, asking if he is reflecting on the director's suggestion. Dolan admits he is intrigued by the idea of the Magic Academy but feels he still has much to do in the village. He observes that visiting Gallo has made him realize how small and isolated Varen is. Seeking her opinion, Christina tells him that his potential in Varen is limited, whereas the academy could provide him with experiences unavailable there. Dolan ponders this, realizing Denzel might be right and that joining the academy could be a beneficial path. At the episode's conclusion, we see numerous monsters emerging from a mysterious portal. A young boy, witnessing the creatures, is left shocked and terrified. If you enjoyed this, drop a comment and subscribe for more. The story continues with a fierce battle between a man and a monster. The man lands a powerful blow, but despite his efforts, he ultimately loses his life. When his friend arrives, he finds him already dead. In the end, many lives are lost to these monsters, marking a great tragedy. After the battle, two individuals arrive, puzzled by the devastation and wondering how this tragedy occurred. They approach the man who is taking his last breaths and ask him what happened. He reveals that a horde of monsters attacked, then dies on the spot from his injuries. The scene shifts to Christina, who is training someone in swordplay, while Dolan instructs a young boy, giving him essential guidance. Selena observes Dolan with admiration, remembering a moment when the academy director once asked Dolan if he wanted to join the academy. The director told him that if he wished to protect the village he loved, he should follow this path. Back in the present, Selena wonders if Dolan might leave her behind one day. Just then, a group of playful children sit on her tail, making Selena feel like part of the village. As everyone grows accustomed to her presence, Christina approaches Dolan and tells him she would like to explore the forest. Dolan warns her about the dangers, but she insists, explaining that she wants to test her strength against the monsters. The scene shifts to everyone entering the forest, well equipped with weapons, as it has recently been inhabited by very powerful monsters, requiring constant vigilance. The forest air is refreshing, untouched by human pollution. Animals graze peacefully, and their leader reminds them to stay alert and reach out if they need anything. As they move forward, they take note of the forest's isolation, which calls for heightened awareness. Suddenly, a boar dashes in a different direction behind the trees. A soldier chases after it, but is stunned to see it soar through the air, its body split. Startled by the massive tiger that is attacked, the soldier is saved at the last moment as Balin arrives, crushing the tiger's head with a hammer. He scolds the soldier for being unprepared, then leaves. Out of nowhere, the strange creature from the beginning reappears and launches an attack. A question lingers: what is the origin of these creatures? Here are the possibilities. They could be artificial beings created by humans, alien creatures, beings from the depths of the earth, or demons from the realm of spirits. Viewers are invited to pause and leave a comment with their thoughts. Returning to the story, Dolan and his companions suddenly hear their leader's powerful scream and rush to him. When they arrive, they find him and his soldiers wounded on the ground. He urges them to flee, warning of the creature's deadly strength. Instead, Dolan steps forward, launching an energy projectile at the monster. Dolan explains that these are low-ranked demons, but despite their low rank, they possess significant strength. Christina asks how he knows about them, and Dolan replies that he read about them in a book. He then unleashes a powerful energy blast, paralyzing the creature, allowing Christina to quickly strike it down. Dolan asks her to keep the existence of these demons a secret from the villagers. Later that night, everyone gathers, waiting anxiously for their injured leader, Balin. The village elder enters, reassuring them that Balin is recovering well under the care of Magro and Mio. Christina asks the elder if creatures like these are common in the area. The elder responds that this is the first time he has heard of anything like this. He mentions that Balin, the village guard's captain, is the strongest soldier in the region. Dolan, meanwhile, wonders if something unusual is truly lurking in the forest. Just then, Magro enters and informs them that Balan has awakened. She explains that his wounds were inflicted by something far sharper than any natural creature. Dolan begins to worry that a greater danger might indeed be lurking in the forest. He feels compelled to confront it. Magro advises him that, living on the frontier, they must coexist with the dangers of nature, as they ultimately return to it. Dolan responds that humanity's nature also involves challenging natural order. He requests permission to investigate the forest further. Magro agrees, but only if he takes someone along. Christina volunteers, but the village elder objects, as her protection is crucial to the Academy and Commissioner Goda. At this point, Selena steps up, declaring she will accompany Dolan, as her cursed eyes give her magical abilities. Dolan agrees, asking everyone to let him and Selena handle the situation as it's their village, and they will take care of the threat. The village elder thanks them, urging them to prioritize their lives above all else and return safely. The story continues with Dolan reassuring the elder that they would prioritize their safety. The next morning, Dolan and Selena set off into the forest together. As they walked, Dolan noted that it had been a long time since it was just the two of them. Selena promised him she would do her best not to hold him back in the forest, mentioning that her cursed eyes would be ready if needed. As they reached the forest's edge, they suddenly felt a presence. Christina stepped out from the trees, greeting them and claiming it was a coincidence, as she was simply taking a walk through the forest. Dolan was skeptical, reminding her that the elder had forbidden her from leaving the village. Christina explained that she overheard him saying they would solve the village's issues themselves, but she felt a deep connection to Varen village and couldn't just stand by without helping. Dolan and Selena, sharing her sentiment, allowed her to join them, acknowledging that protecting the village was everyone's responsibility. Christina suggested they tell the elder they happened to cross paths and decided to walk together. During their journey, they encountered a giant spider, which Dolan killed with the help of Selena and Christina. Soon after, they came across another creature, a large monkey-like animal. Selena offered it a piece of fruit, and the creature, surprisingly polite, apologized for scaring them and accepted the fruit. Selena asked Dolan if the treat was one of Mio's creations, to which he confirmed, praising its delicious taste. Selena asked if he could give her more later. She then took the fruit to the small monkey, explaining to Christina that the creature might have been aggressive out of hunger. Dolan remarked on the creature's strength and observed that they might have been forced from their feeding grounds. He wondered if other creatures, like the giant spiders, were also affected by changes in the forest. Christina agreed that the situation couldn't be ignored. She tried some of the food and enjoyed it. Dolan mentioned that his mother had baked it using wheat from the village, and that his father had taught him how to dry and preserve the meat, calling it a wholesome meal. Selena complimented Christina, saying she looked lovely even while eating just a little. Dolan agreed, commenting that she had an elegant, almost classic charm. Blushing, Christina asked them to stop teasing her. Selena then mentioned wanting someone to help her strengthen her enchantment spell, so it could aid her in finding a husband. Dolan told her she didn't need anything extra, as she was already beautiful. Selena was thrilled by his comment, thinking that he might want to marry her, though he hadn't shown any clear signs of that. Suddenly, they sensed a presence ahead. A magical crystal ball appeared, containing a fairy who urgently warned them to run away. Just as she spoke, a demon appeared. Dolan asked Selena to keep the animals away while he charged at the demon, but it managed to dodge his attacks. Christina jumped in, defeating the demon, but soon more demons arrived, attacking them one by one. During the battle, a demon lunged at Dolan while another hovered above him. Dolan struck the first demon with his sword, and his hands transformed into dragon claws, allowing him to kill it. Dolan realized that the dragon's power was making the fight much easier. He saved Christina from a demon sneaking up behind her, and she thanked him for saving her life. Selena teasingly asked how he could be all right without her help. Dolan replied that her humility made her even more beautiful and enchanting. After the fight, the fairy thanked them for their help and asked if they were human. They introduced themselves, and the fairy explained that the demon soldier had suddenly started chasing her. Dolan speculated that the demons might be behind the strange changes in the forest. He suspected that these imps were merely scouts, hinting that stronger demons might be approaching. Christina asked the fairy, whose name was Marl, about her troubles, offering their assistance as they were there to investigate. Marl replied that they were facing many issues and she appreciated their support. Dolan noted that the demons were observing them with cautious interest, rather than outright hostility. Then, a forest spirit appeared, and a man approached her, instructing Marl to step back. Dolan looked at him with surprise, and with that,
Geo, one of the commanders of NT Forest, eyed the newcomers with caution, worried about the tense atmosphere. Merle tried to explain to him that humans and Lamia had actually saved her. Dolan reassured everyone there was no danger from their group and advised them to stay behind him, just in case. Geo approached Dolan, thanking him for rescuing the fairy. When he bowed, Dolan's group was surprised by his respect. However, Geo warned that Andy belonged to the forest dwellers, maintaining a wary stance as he asked why Dolan's group was there. Dolan explained they'd come from Vareem village because monsters had appeared nearby. They suspected something was wrong in the forest and came to investigate, though Dolan now apologized for not asking permission to enter. Geo understood and didn't fault Dolan for their entry, but suggested they leave soon as the forest was unsettled. Dolan mentioned the presence of demonic troops that had invaded Varun, surprising Geo, who revealed that these same demons were warring against the elves in Entifit. Christina, growing frustrated, asked Geo how they were handling the invasion, practically interrogating him about their troop strength and whether he'd informed the kingdom of the threat. Losing her patience, she grabbed Geo's collar, startling the archers around him. Selena quickly pulled Christina back, but Christina, still furious, offered her group's help in the war, shocking the forest dwellers. Dolan gently placed a hand on Christina's shoulder, recognizing her concern. Celine also noted Christina's worry for the elves. Meanwhile, Geo's sister, Theo, commented to Merle that the humans and Lamia seemed trustworthy, and Merle added that they were strong, having just defeated demon soldiers. The other elves whispered that these strangers appeared skilled and dependable. Observing the impact of Christina's passionate plea, Dolan felt her assertiveness had won them favor, though the elves' mention of the demonic army troubled him. He realized the demons likely weren't wandering aimlessly. They'd likely opened a portal between the demonic kingdom and the forest. If that portal fully opened, higher-level demons could invade Entive. Determined, Dolan vowed to stop this, even if revealing his dragon soul meant exile. He resolved to use his ancient powers to confront this threat. Dolan then proposed a deal to Geo. Despite the elven laws forbidding aid from outsiders, he urged Geo to accept their help. At that moment, Theo stepped in, pleading with her brother to consider their offer. She cared more about saving her people than following tradition, and the group seemed genuinely willing to help. Geo finally agreed to their assistance. He acknowledged the grave danger looming over the forest and the risk to their new allies, but he welcomed them to share the burden. The elven leader extended his hand to Dolan, sealing their alliance, but a sudden crash echoed through the forest. A vast, chaotic energy filled the sky, confirming Dolan's fears the portal had opened. 3 demons emerged. Ready to carry out their mission, Dolan cast a wind spell to quicken their pace to the village. The gray-armored demon, Jilon, announced their mission to retrieve the anti-Adrizil for the demonic ruler, while the red-armored Jalud noted it was a clear sign of trust from their leader. Jalon asked about Jorg, and the small demon, Rafelzia, explained that his enormous mana likely delayed him. Bored, one demon suggested a contest to see who could capture the nearby elves first, with the winner claiming the right to kill them all. Jilon refused, uninterested in fighting insects, but Jalud eagerly raced off, relishing the chance to spill elven blood. Meanwhile, Rafelzia noted the pleasant fragrance of the forest's aim flowers, hinting at her twisted affection for them. As more demonic soldiers poured from the portal, they reached the elf village. The defenders fired arrows to hold them back, but the arrival of a greater threat turned the battle in the demons' favor. Geolud, the first of the 4 demonic horsemen, entered the battlefield. The elves shot arrows, but his armor deflected them. With one powerful blow, Geolud collapsed part of the village's entrance, scattering elven defenders in all directions. Geo received word from his spirit companions that demons were attacking from the north of the village, so he planned to enter from the south to strengthen their defenses. Ahead of them, Zerts were creating a barrier to block Dahlin and the others. In the north of Entiv, Geolud mocked the elves, claiming that while they might hold off his soldiers, they couldn't withstand a single blow from him. For Geolud, the cries of the defeated elves were like music. he approached one fallen elf, announcing that this foe would get to witness his spear up close. But as he prepared to strike, black rose roots wrapped around him, halting his attack. A female voice urged the elf to flee, while Geolude struggled to break free, though the roots only absorbed his power, growing even stronger. The elf paused and realized the woman who saved him was Diodora. Meanwhile, Geo and his troops fought their way north, clearing the path. Dallin unleashed an energy rain, wiping out multiple demons, while Christina skillfully cut down any enemy in her way, and Selena cast powerful magic. Geo created an opening through the trees that acted as a barrier, leading to the village. He ordered the group to follow and join the defenses. Before going in, Dallin handed out purity crystals to his friends, boosting their magic abilities. Christina quickly put the crystals to use, summoning a tornado that devastated the Zerts. Selena summoned earth spears that struck demons from below, while Dallin launched a powerful explosion that impressed Geo. Geo admitted he might rely more on these outsiders, and Dallin assured him that they were worthy of trust. Nearby, Diodora accused Geolude of committing terrible crimes by crushing the plants and animals of the forest. Geolude laughed, saying only Intif saw such things as crimes. In his world, weakness was the only sin, punishable by death. Diodora replied that he too was weak in her eyes, condemning him to death. Before she could act, a young girl's voice interrupted, canceling Diodora's spell and freeing Geolude. The girl, Rafflesia, introduced herself without a hint of worry. Meanwhile, Geo, Dallin, and the others reached the elven village. Annoyed, Geolude told Rafflesia he didn't need her help. She mocked him, saying all he ever did was cause trouble with his reckless bravado. Rafflesia then turned to Diodora and taunted her, asking if she was ready for a painful fight. Unshaken, Diodora called on the spirits of the forest, yet they didn't respond. Suddenly, petals began to fall, and Rafflesia explained she had played with some flowers on her way. She held a lily whose spirit cried as it withered, while gentians wilted in her grasp. Seeing her beloved spirits destroyed, Diodora couldn't contain her anger. Rafflesia found it amusing, noting that even flowers fight for resources. So Diodora should be glad for less competition. Infuriated, Diodora unleashed a fierce attack, though Rafflesia blocked it easily. She revealed herself as a spirit 2-1 from the demonic realm, born of a flower that feeds on blood and life, the Rafflora. In her realm, life existed to feed her, and she demonstrated this by consuming Diodora's roots. Yet, as she destroyed another vine, one thorny piece broke through, grazing her cheek. Rafflesia, furious at the sight of her own blood, threw herself back into the battle with renewed anger. As the fight escalated, Geolude charged forward with his spear, impatient as ever. Rafflesia claimed Diodora as her prey, but Geolude ignored her and continued his assault. Diodora summoned more vines, yet he tore through them. The impact knocked Diodora back, and Rafflesia struck again, draining her mana. Though badly weakened, Diodora resolved not to fall before avenging her friends. She whispered a farewell, ready to accept her fate, but just then, a spell shot toward the demons, forcing them to shift focus. As the dust settled, Dallin stood ready for the fight.
The demons stare in shock, unable to identify the human who suddenly steps in to help the injured witch to her feet. Furious at this betrayal, Jolu prepares to attack, but Christina intercepts him with her sword, her steady blade halting his rage. Seizing the opportunity, Jolin strikes at Joluth's neck. However, the demon regenerates instantly in retreat. Rafflesia, seeing an opening, lunges at Dolan from behind, but an elf's arrow whistles through the air, forcing her to catch it mid-sleight. Outraged, she demands to know how anyone could come so close to hitting her in such chaos. Dolan calmly reminds her that they are in an elf village, where precision is second nature. Rafflesia snaps the arrow in fury and releases her deadly mist once again, only for the earth beneath them to tremble violently. A powerful energy surges from the forest, drawing a twisted grin from Raflia's lips. The moment she had been eagerly awaiting arrives as a monstrous creature emerges from the demon's portal. Despite the danger, Gelyod intends to crush his enemies before the beast can join the fray. But the battlefield shifts as an ominous mana radiates from a blade, catching the attention of all present. Selene summons massive magical snakes using her ability Jalum du Alum to bind Gelyod. Raphelia, confident her mist will only grow stronger from the mana, moves toward the epicenter of the battle to claim more power. Dolan interrupts her with a powerful explosion spell that hurls her backward. Before she can recover, Diadora's roots strike her, sending her crashing to the ground. Selene continues to immobilize Jalud with her serpents, allowing Dolan to step forward. He charges a fiery spear with the spell Light the Kiln, aiming it at the demon. Spotting movement at the rear, he redirects the spear and unleashes it on the advancing enemies. The spear explodes mid-air as a projectile intercepts it, revealing a new challenger emerging from the smoke. Gellin appears, reprimanding Gelyod for his incompetence and stepping forward to face Selene. Dalan notes Gellin's aura is far more intense than before, while Jolu struggles against Selene's magical snakes. Furious, he roars that Selene is his prey, but before he can act, Christina intercepts his attack with her sword. Her skill and strength catch the demon off guard. Suspecting she is a superhuman, he decides she is a worthy foe and vows to defeat her. Christina's blade, El Spada, glows as she charges into combat. She dodges Jolu's first attack, climbs his massive tail, and drives her sword into his neck. Although the demon regenerates, he is stunned by the human's ability to inflict such damage. Vowing revenge, he lunges at Christina, only for Selene to summon earth spirits to pin him down. Meanwhile, Gellin mocks Selene's determination, effortlessly breaking free from his bindings. He questions her resolve, stating that someone without the will to kill has no place in this battle. Swinging his axe with incredible force, he charges, only to be stopped by Dolan, who shields Selene with his blade and counters with a magically infused punch that sends Galan flying. As the battle seems to turn in their favor, a terrifying presence descends onto the battlefield. A massive demon named Yorg, the fourth and final invader, lands with a thunderous crash, shaking the earth and raising a cloud of dust. His aura suffocates the battlefield, sending chills through friend and foe alike. Yorg's arrival silences the fighting as he steps forward, apologizing to Galen for interrupting. The elven commander Dolan immediately recognizes Jorg as a foe unlike any other. Raphelia and Gellert attempt to provoke the newcomer, but Yorg's sharp and refined aura reveals his immense strength. Yorg, amused, declares that it has been centuries since he faced a worthy opponent. Drawing his blade, he steps forward, ready for a duel. Dolan does not hesitate. He charges at Jorg, clashing with the demon sword. Sparks fly as their weapons meet, and Dolan introduces himself, demanding his name be remembered. Jorg pauses, recognizing the name from a distant past, though he dismisses any connection between this human and the one he recalls. The battle intensifies as Jorg's twin swords clash against Dolan's defenses. Using his draconic mana, Dolan counters Jorg's overwhelming power. He breathes ancient energy onto his blade, amplifying its strength, and strikes at Jorg's shield. Jorg retaliates with his immense strength, but finds his attacks blocked or redirected. Dolan joins the fray, unleashing an explosive spell that engulfs the area. Yet, Jorg emerges unscathed, his shield and 3 swords absorbing the impact. Dolan and Jorg lock eyes, both knowing this duel is far from over. The air crackles with tension as their auras collide, promising a fight that will shake the very foundations of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Christina is more impressed with her ally, as he had kept the demon on the defensive thus far. Dolan's skill is so remarkable that even Diador inquires who this man is. Like the others, the demon admits he is surprised by the human's capabilities. Equally amazed, Dolan questioned whether his adversary was some ancient deity, perhaps a fallen god, and the monster confirmed it. Accused of harboring a great secret, Dallin knew he could not reveal his draconic form to anyone. The spark and major conflict in his mind, for while he could not defeat such a powerful adversary in his human form, using his full powers would surely destroy the entire elf village. Ultimately, considering the human hadn't spoken up, the demon declared that their weapons would speak for themselves. In his case, possessing 3 swords, he assured they would have much to say. With that, Jorb resumed his attack, more brutally this time, creating significant difficulties for Dolan to dodge all the strikes. In a swift move, the man managed to slice the demon's chest, but it healed instantly, spurring even greater eagerness for the duel. As mana accumulated, its power seemed infinite. While Raphaelia and Gilu joined the fray, Kristinette and Celine rushed to even the numbers, but Jalen declared they would have to get past him first. Then Raphaelia and Gilu freely attacked their target. Dallin knew these spells were too weak to take his life, but he still needed to release some of his draconic mana to respond appropriately, and this release sprouted small spectral dragon wings on his back. Casting a wind spell, he easily repelled the enemy's spells, leaving his foes agape. Far from finished, the ancient dragon summoned an energy ray and hurled it at the pair, who had no time to dodge and were struck. Seeing this, Dior positioned himself to cast a spell that could change the course of the war. Drawing all the mana in the environment to himself, the demon stated he would only acknowledge Dolan as a formidable enemy if he dealt with this next attack. With that, he prepared one of his ultimate moves: 3 demonic light blades. Upon conjuring this technique, the monster amassed an enormous amount of power and unleashed it at his foe. In response, Dolan smiled at Selena, raised his sword, gathered draconic mana, and deflected the magic back into the sky, ending it in the blink of an eye. Despite seeing an important technique defended with ease, Jorda burst out laughing and acknowledged the adversary's move as magnificent. In the end, it was worth it for him to have made that pact and come to the surface to confront someone so powerful. Ironically, Dolan's doll hated to spoil the fallen god's good humor, but assured him he wasn't fighting for his entertainment. On that note, Jorg suddenly announced he had lost interest in this battle. Puzzled, Dolan asked what that meant, but before answering, the demon inquired if the human was concerned about the women and children, as the two couldn't fight without causing collateral damage. At that, Jorg plunged one of his swords into the ground and addressed the residents of the Entif forest. Offering the inhabitants of choice, he asked whether they would continue fighting to the death or join the demonic forces and stay alive. The demons would return to this settlement in 3 days with an army, so the elves had that time to discuss and debate the future they wanted for their civilization. With that, the demon told Galeen, Gelud, and Raphelzia that they wouldn't fight that night. Before leaving, Galena taught Selena that showing compassion for enemies was a greater sin than defeat, while Geludlud vowed never to forget the humiliation he suffered at Christina's hands during the encounter. For her part, Christina warned beforehand that her memory wasn't that good. Lastly, Refleja swore to kill Diodora, tormenting the mage until she begged for her suffering to end. Conversely, Diodora promised to avenge her friends and family against this foul demonic spirit of a flower. Jor reiterated that he would return in 3 days. When the time came, the demonic forces would show no mercy. Likewise, Dolan intended to show everything he was capable of on that day. After another laugh, the demon took flight and reflected alone that he never imagined he would personally fight Anst Dolan. After the contest ended, Selena rushed towards Dolan and embraced him desperately, as the laugh he had given her at the moment he was being attacked by a powerful enemy spell made the Lamia fear it could be her end. In this, the human reassured his companion by showing her he was all right, as he hadn't even suffered a scratch. He didn't ask if anyone was hurt, but it seemed everyone was intact. Changing the subject, Kristen revealed she had many questions for Dallin, but the man asked to save them for later, especially since Dio and the other elves seemed to want to talk to him as well. Later, the group was led inside the village. although Celine didn't find the reception very warm. Dallin didn't blame the natives, as the times were desperate and the chance to earn their respect was through their actions. Soon, the humans in the Lamia were brought to Dio, the tribal chief of the village of Enti. The leader welcomed them and thanked the trio for their enormous help in the conflict. At his side, he introduced Vlake the Wolfman and Alcyon the Arachnid. Dolan guessed they must be the chiefs of the various tribes that existed in this forest. Knowing the man surpassed the powers of an average human, Dio brought Olivia to provide the perspective of an elf who lived in a human city. Dio, an ordinary human, had brought Olivia along to offer insights as an elf who had lived in a human city. Olivia greeted everyone with a casual hi, thanking Dolan for helping her earlier. When Chris asked why she was there, Olivia explained that she was born in the village but had left the forest long ago to live in the human world. However, upon hearing about the recent troubles, she rushed back. Dio hadn't expected the humans to know the elf, but setting that aside, the village chief announced that he wouldn't wait the 3 days promised by Jor. Instead, he planned to gather all capable fighters by mid-morning tomorrow to destroy the portal to the demon realm and drive out the invaders. Alcyon added that the portal supplied the demons with energy, making their presence possible. Vlake emphasized that destroying it would force the demons to retreat. With this decisive stance, Dolan announced after consulting with Geo that his group would stay and fight alongside the elves. Geo, however, worried that they might be exploiting the goodwill of the human allies. Vlake admitted it felt humbling to rely on them, but recognized Dolan and his group's immense strength. Accepting this help was the only logical choice, no matter how desperate it seemed. Alcyon agreed, calling their presence a stroke of fortune. Olivia vouched for the trio's trustworthiness and revealed that she had already requested aid from the kingdom. While reinforcements would take time to arrive, they promised a way to restore the forest, even if the elves were defeated. Moved by the pleas, Dio agreed to accept their assistance. Dolan, inspired by the villagers' determination to protect their forest, also vowed to do everything possible to save it. Selena and Christina echoed his commitment. As this resolve grew, Dolan noticed Diodora slipping away, her behavior unusual and catching his attention. Meanwhile, in the demon ranks, Zolu vented his anger by decapitating lesser demons, seething over his earlier defeat by a human. Similarly, Raphaelia tormented her underlings to soothe her bruised ego after her battle with Diodora. Gelen, disapproving of their petty actions, reminded them that soldiers like Exerts were valuable. Turning to Jorg, he asked if the demon leader had anything to say about their behavior. Jorg replied that their spirits should burn with rage before the approaching battle, a sentiment Gelen shared. Galen also acknowledged that while Selena might still be inexperienced, her potential was undeniable. Jorg admitted his interest in Dolan, impressed by the man's skill, mana, and fighting spirit. He anticipated their next duel would be a pivotal moment in the war, a clash unlike any he had faced in ages. Reflecting on his past, Jorg recalled his time in the war god Ard's army. During one battle, he overheard angels lamenting the fallen gods who created troublesome monsters like him. Amid the chaos, a massive creature appeared, a dragon summoned by the goddess Mirel, a being so fearsome it had once brought demons to their knees. Remembering this, Jorg grew eager for the upcoming battle, confident it would alter the war's course. Back in the village, Dolan approached Diodora concerned about her earlier behavior. The witch, wary, told him to stay away, calling him strange when he persisted. Dolan shrugged, admitting he was used to hearing that. Noticing her unhealed wound from Raphaelia, he offered to examine it. Reluctantly, Diodora allowed him to purify the wound with his life energy. As she watched his impressive healing ability, she began to question if Dolan was truly human. He smiled, preferring to be seen as an unusual human. With the wound healed, Diodora gazed at a patch of flowers nearby. Dolan asked if she was mourning, and she explained that Raphleia had killed beautiful forest spirits, leaving behind only sorrow. Unable to tolerate Raphleia's continued existence, Diodora vowed to seek justice for the spirits. Dolan offered his help, earning a rare smile from the witch, who called him unusual once more. She thanked him for his help and left, feeling slightly comforted by their conversation. Later, Dolan returned to where his group was staying. There, he found Theo and Merle having tea with the foreign heroes. Selena, watching from the start, couldn't help but comment on Christina's seemingly endless appetite, marveling at how the knight could eat so much and still stay slim. Chris shares that she stays slim naturally, balancing her love for food with regular exercise. Nikelemia admires Chris's elegant figure, noting her enviable curves and slender waist. Overhearing their conversation, Theo jumps in, jokingly pointing out how striking both women are, with impressive figures all around. Meanwhile, Dolan, quietly munching on a roll, finds himself the target of their playful glances. Theo teases Dolan for staring, while Chris, understanding his youth, advises him to pick better moments for such behavior. Dolan calmly explains that he wasn't having inappropriate thoughts, instead reflecting on how anyone would feel flattered by compliments. Amused, Theo lets it go, appreciating his innocence. As the evening winds down, Chris reminds everyone of the early start tomorrow, encouraging them to rest. Dolan helps clear the table, but Selena offers to take over. Her small gesture of kindness leaves a surprising impression on Dolan. Later, unable to sleep, he steps outside for fresh air. On the balcony, he finds Selena cuddling a plush mushroom under the moonlight. Dolan admits that the night air and the view of the village are calming. Selena highlights the moonlight filtering through the trees, and Dolan reflects on how the harmony between elves and nature creates such beauty. Selena hears distant sounds, which Dolan assumes are blacksmiths working late to prepare for the coming battle. Feeling guilty for steering the conversation toward war, Selena tries to change the topic. Dolan reassures her, sitting nearby and taking in the peaceful view. He confides that he often worries people think he's odd, but insists he's not insensitive. Selena doesn't understand his concern, so Dolan shares his guilt over involving Nikelemia in the conflict, despite knowing her strength and value in battle. Selena opens up, confessing that during their last fight, she hesitated to kill a demon. Despite knowing it was a monstrous foe, she froze at the thought of taking a life, even as others were getting hurt. She admits that while she understands the necessity of war, it's harder than she imagined. Dolan, surprised, mentions how meeting Selena changed his view of Lamius, who were once thought to be ruthless. He admires her kind heart and assures her that her gentle nature is a strength, not a weakness. To show his support, Dolan offers Selena a bracelet he crafted, which is meant to protect her. He ties it on her wrist, encouraging her to trust him and face the upcoming battle without fear. Moved by his gesture, Selena thanks him, and they share a quiet moment. Suddenly, Chris interrupts, wrapping them both in a blanket to keep them warm and teasingly inserting herself into their moment. She joins them in admiring the serene forest village and vows to protect it at all costs. Inspired, Selena stands and pledges to fight without hesitation for her friends and the village. Chris joins her, promising to put an end to the evil threatening their peace. Later, as Selena finally drifts off to sleep, Chris brings up a mysterious term, superhuman, to Dolan. When he doesn't know what it means, she tells him to forget about it for now. At dawn, Geo rallies the warriors of Enti, invoking the memories of fallen comrades and the pain caused by the demon's destruction. He calls for vengeance and justice, igniting the troops' determination as they prepare to march toward the enemy portal. Before the battle, Olivia explains their strategy. Her team, along with allied beastmen and Arachmen, will focus on the portal's 3 auxiliary gates. Geo's squadron will lead the main assault, clearing a path for Dolan and his companions to reach the central gate. As the convoy moves out, Selena feels a sudden premonition. Leaving her carriage, she resolves to lend her strength to Gio's squadron as the battle begins. As the warriors of Empty Forest approached the portal, demons eagerly waited, ready to spill blood on the sacred ground. Alcyon, one of the leaders, noticed the madness of the enemies and vowed to protect Enti no matter what. Gelid admired her determination, but warned her not to let it be just empty words. At one of the auxiliary gates, Refleja, an enemy, muttered to herself about Jelen's advantage in controlling the gates. However, her focus shifted when her new rival Dodora arrived. Refleja insisted on fighting Dodora one-on-one, eager to defeat her personally. Meanwhile, Jelen was at another gate, ruthlessly cutting down Gio's elven forces. Mocking their weak attacks, Jelen claimed he was invincible, but Gio had his troops aim for Jelen's joints. Before the elves could gain an advantage, Selena arrived and used a spell called Gaia Strike, burying Jelen under rocks. Selena was surprised by the strength of her spell. Frio, one of the elves, asked why she wasn't at the main gate. Selena explained that she had left the main gate in the hands of Dolan and Christina, which boosted the elves' morale. However, Jelen soon broke free and returned to the fight, annoyed but excited to face Selena again. He mocked her, but Selena confidently retorted, claiming she would defeat him. Elsewhere, Christina was worried about Selena, despite Captain Gio being with her. Dolan tried to reassure Christina by mentioning a powerful magic crystal he had given Selena. Although it comforted Christina for a moment, she still feared her friend might fall to the insane demon. On the battlefield, Jolud expressed his frustration at the lack of challenge after defeating dozens of enemies. Alcyon spiders and the beastmen tried to immobilize a demon with webs and direct attacks, but the demon countered them effortlessly. Kristana, realizing the urgency, took control of her carriage and headed toward the auxiliary gate where Geolud, a demon, was fighting. Kristana, realizing the urgency, to knock him down for the first time in the battle. Enraged, the demon fought back, and Christina urged Alcyon and her companions to retreat and save as many survivors as possible. Christina then prepared to face Geolud alone. Geolud admitted he would have preferred to fight Dolan, but he decided Kristana would suffice. Calmly, Christina invoked the awakening of her weapon, Elspada, and prepared for a life-or-death fight. When Geolud attacked, Christina dodged his blow and leapt over him, striking his helmet and cracking it. Although he regenerated the damage, he praised Kristana's skill, calling it superhuman, a term she dismissed. Meanwhile, Dolwyn raced toward the main gate, determined to minimize troop losses. He didn't worry about Christina, trusting her abilities, but he knew the battle would demand speed and decisive action to secure victory. Diodora, a powerful mage, mercilessly fought through the swarms of Zert demons, blocking her path. Frustrated and out of patience, she shouted, demanding her true opponent, Refleja, stop hiding and face her directly. Amused, the demoness smiled and dismissed the remaining Zert demons, summoning a thick mist to blanket the area. This magic ensured their duel would be uninterrupted. Refleja's mist, a signature of her power, began to spread, forcing Diodora to counter with a wind spell to dispel it. Refleja, impressed by Diodora's quick thinking, taunted her, explaining that the lives she had absorbed gave her the power to manipulate life energy as a weapon. She hurled this energy at Diodora, who narrowly dodged the first attacks, but found herself under a relentless barrage. Attempting to defend herself, Diodora summoned roots from the ground as shields, but Refleja's life energy shattered them, sending the mage crashing to the ground. Laughing, Refleja mocked her, cruelly suggesting that the energy of her fallen comrades was making the battle more enjoyable. Furious, Diodora summoned stronger roots to protect herself and counterattack. However, these too withered upon contact with the mist, drained by Refleja's demonic power. Refleja grew more confident, convinced of her impending victory. She intensified her attacks, aiming to crush Diodora completely. But just as she was about to declare her triumph, Diodora revealed a hidden trump card. Black flowers began to bloom from her shattered roots, their dark petals absorbing the mist. Diodora explained that these black roses represented ultimate absorption and destruction, a forbidden power she had sealed away until now. Fueled by anger and determination, she unleashed this power, vowing not to hold back against Refleja. Intrigued rather than intimidated, Refleja welcomed the challenge, eager to see whose energy manipulation was superior. Their mists collided violently in the center of their battlefield, creating shockwaves. Despite her determination, Diodora struggled to maintain her magic, her lack of practice with this forbidden power putting her at a disadvantage. Refleja's mist began to overpower her, draining her life force. Refleja reveled in the sensation, savoring the energy she was absorbing from her opponent. Smirking, Diodora let her hatred fuel her response, telling Refleja to enjoy it, as it would be her last taste of victory. Suddenly, Refleja's face contorted in agony as black roses sprouted from her skin. Diodora revealed her strategy. During their previous battle, she had embedded tiny seeds of black roses into Refleja's body using her thorns. The roses now grew uncontrollably, entangling Refleja and draining her life force. Screaming in pain, Refleja was crushed by the roots sprouting from the roses, and her body was consumed. Exhausted from the hard-fought victory, Diodora realized she had no strength left to fight another enemy. However, the surrounding Zert demons showed no signs of retreat. Resigned to her fate, she closed her eyes, prepared to die. Just then, a rain of energy bolts struck the battlefield, obliterating the demons. Looking up, she saw Dolan soaring with dragon wings before collapsing from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Selena regained consciousness, confused and disoriented. Feo called her name, and she remembered her last moments, attempting to block an attack with a spell but failing. She discovered she was impaled on a tree branch. Elsewhere, Dolan destroyed the portal Refleja had guarded and found the unconscious Diodora. Using a magic circle, he healed her wounds and explained that the circle also served as a defense. Noticing his dragon-like wings, Diodora commented that he wasn't human, but Dolan clarified that he carried the soul of a dragon from his past life. Grateful yet awestruck, Diodora offered to help him face the powerful enemy Jorg. Dolan declined, confident he could handle it alone, and Diodora urged him to avoid harming the forest with his immense power. Elsewhere, the demon Jelen continued his rampage, slaughtering soldiers, while Gio and Fio worked to save Selena. After removing the wooden stake piercing her tail, they attempted to heal her with a spell, but the crystal from Dolan restored her completely. Despite their injuries, the group pressed forward. Gio urged Selena to escape the forest alone for her safety, but she refused to leave her friends behind. The battle continued to rage as both sides faced devastating losses, and the fate of the battlefield hung in the balance. Meanwhile, Christina and Jolud are locked in a fierce battle. Christina moves quickly, her attacks slicing into the demon repeatedly. However, each wound she inflicts heals almost instantly, leaving Jolud unscathed. Exhaustion begins to wear on her, and she wonders how long she must keep cutting him before he finally falls. Instead of answering, Jolud comments on her extraordinary abilities, calling her a superhuman. Frustrated, Christina demands to know what he means. Jolud explains that superhumans are rare, exceptional beings among ordinary people. They possess incredible strength, magic, and intelligence, far beyond normal human limits. However, he adds, such power isolates them, as ordinary humans fear and resent their presence. In the past, these extraordinary individuals were hunted down and destroyed. Jolud continues, saying that superhumans are natural enemies of demons, capable of slaying even the most powerful creatures, like ancient dragons. He reveals that the last ancient dragon was killed by a superhuman, a feat no ordinary human could accomplish. Christina listens, piecing together the truth about herself. Realizing that her powers align with the description of a superhuman, she accepts that she was born to fight and defeat beings like Jolud. Determined, Christina channels her strength and skill. She cuts off all of Jolud's limbs, his 2 arms and 4 legs, rendering him defenseless. As Jolud lies on the ground, he muses aloud about the last dragon's feelings when it was killed by a superhuman. Without hesitation, Christina silences him by decapitating him with her sword. Standing over his defeated body, she reflects aloud that the dragon and the hero who killed it were once friends. But the human betrayed the dragon, creating a legacy of pain and resentment. Elsewhere, Dallin finally confronts Jorg, a demon who has been waiting eagerly for this moment. Jorg, with a smug confidence, tells Dallin that ever since he witnessed his former master, the god of war Ards, fight a human, he has dreamed of battling one himself. Dallin questions Jorg's audacity, asking if he truly intends to challenge him, knowing who he is. Jorg acknowledges Dallin's strength as a dragon, but points out that Dallin also has a human heart, a vulnerability he intends to exploit. He adds that Dallin cannot unleash his full power in the human world. Smirking, Jorg invites Dallin to step into the demonic realm, where they can fight without restrictions. Without hesitation, Dallin accepts the challenge, and the two enter the portal, ready for an epic battle. We land in the demon realm, where a demon welcomes the reborn dragon like it's a long-lost sparring partner. He's thrilled to show off his strength against such a legendary opponent. Meanwhile, Fio, the Lamia, tells Selena to run and not look back. Then, she heads into the forest, only to have a solo meltdown. She admits she's scared and doesn't want to hurt anyone, even her enemies. But she also doesn't want to run away, leaving her friends in the middle of the war. Overwhelmed, she calls herself a coward and cries. Someone get Feo a motivational poster stat. Elsewhere, Feo catches up with Gellin, the demon. She traps him with plant prison, but Gellin breaks out like it's no big deal. Geo, ever the sharpshooter, spots a gap in Gellin's armor and lands a perfect shot with his arrow. An elven mage follows up with a spell, but Gellin barely flinches. Instead, he complements their teamwork before showing off his secret weapon, bone cables that whip around and turn the battlefield into an absolute nightmare. Back to Selena. She hears the cries of the elves and decides to step in. She's in pain and struggling to run, but looks at her magical bracelet for strength. Her determination kicks in because, more than anything, she can't stand seeing her allies hurt. She rushes to help, just in time to see Gellin holding Geo, the elf leader, by the head like a toy. After throwing Geo against a tree, Gellin gears up for a finishing blow with his massive axe. Cue Selena's dramatic entrance. She uses earth chains to trap Gellin, but he easily breaks free and counterattacks. Undeterred, Selena summons Jalum, her magical snake, which chomps through Gellin's bone cables and leaves him stunned. Gellin, now furious, tries to escalate the battle again, but Selena slams him to the ground with a dispel spell that's so powerful it kicks up a dust storm. Her mana is so intense it even scares her allies. She orders Fleo and the others to retreat, while Gellin rises with a villainous laugh, exuding even more malevolent energy. But Selena isn't holding back anymore. She unleashes Gaia's attack, hurling boulders at him, which he slices apart with his axe. Then, Selena taps into her demon snake blood and summons Unjalom, a giant spectral dragon. The dragon devours Gellin in an epic final move, ending the fight. Victorious, Selena looks to the sky and whispers that she's completed her mission. Meanwhile, in the underworld, things are heating up. Dolan faces off against Jorb, a demon wielding 4 swords. Jorb praises Dolan's connection to the primordial dragons, but Dolan isn't here for compliments. He counters Jorb's fancy magic with a single, devastating sword strike that slices through the spell and even splits a mountain behind Jorb. Back with the elves, Selena reunites with her friend Chris, but their joy is short-lived. They discover that Dolan and Jorb have taken their battle to the underworld. Olivia, their magic expert, spots a portal and a mysterious magic circle on the ground. The elf leaders are debating whether to seal the portal to the infernal world. If they do, the threat to their forest will end. But Dolan, currently battling a demon in there, would be trapped forever. The supreme leader, Alcyon, thinks it might be worth it to save countless lives, even if it's a dishonorable move. Naturally, this idea sparks outrage. Christina, Selena, Gio, and Fionn argue against it, saying Dolan is risking his life for the forest, and sealing the portal would betray him. Selena loses her patience, reminding everyone that Dolan wouldn't have entered the portal if he thought he couldn't handle the fight. As the argument heats up, Diodora sides with Selena. Slowly, the room agrees to trust Dolan and wait for his victory. Back to the fight. Jorg pulls out his ultimate move, the 4,000 Furious Cuts, but Dolan dodges everything like he's in a dance-off. Then Dolan counters with a powerful breath attack so intense it catches the attention of someone far away in the underworld, a mysterious woman intrigued by his strength. Dolan isn't done yet. In one swift move, he slices off 3 of Jorg's arms. Even with only one arm left, Jorg keeps fighting, but Dolan ends it with a clean cut, splitting the demon in half. Before Jorg dies, he's moved by Dolan's honor, and even cries, feeling proud to have fought such an opponent. Dolan, ever respectful, tells Jorg to imagine the sword that defeated him as the weapon of the people he hurt. The mysterious woman watches Dolan from the shadows, thrilled at the idea of facing him someday. Dolan returns to Enti, where he's greeted with a hero's welcome. Selena hugs him tightly, and the army celebrates with a massive banquet. Christina and Selena, dressed in beautiful elf attire, ask Dolan how they look. Dolan, ever the charmer, says seeing them like this is the best reward. Fio teases him for being bold, but Dolan insists he's just being honest. Later, Dolan invites Selena to dance. During the dance, Selena confesses that she almost fled the battle out of fear, but thanks to Dolan's courage and her magical artifact, she found the strength to return. Dolan thanks her for the kind words, but she seems a little disappointed he didn't interpret them romantically. The night ends with Selena a little too drunk, and Dolan listens to Christina sing a song about a hero and a white dragon. She shyly apologizes for her singing, but Dolan praises her. Curious, he asks what happens after the hero defeats the dragon. Christina reveals the song ends there, leaving it open to interpretation. Dolan believes the white dragon valued its friendship with the hero above all else. The next day, the group prepares to leave the forest. Olivia invites Dolan to join her magic academy again, but he asks for more time to decide. Diodora gifts him rare black rose seeds, and then, plot twist, plants a kiss on him. This leaves Selena absolutely stunned. Finally, the group returns to Varun village. Dolan, relieved to be home, opens his door, only to be greeted by a claw piercing his chest. Strangely enough, Dolan wakes up the next day in his bed, totally fine, as if nothing happened. He washes his face and stares at his reflection, probably wondering if he's still dreaming. Feeling hungry for some good vibes, Dolan checks on his farm and is delighted by how amazing his fruits look. While he's admiring his hard work, Selena pops up to say hi. Inspired by her visit, Dolan shares a deep and ancient story about dragons. Here's the gist. All dragons come from one being, Dalan himself. He was the very first dragon, created at the beginning of the world. But feeling lonely, he decided to split himself into pieces to create more dragons. His tail became Hyperion the Destroyer, his wings Ritra the Speedster, his eyes Jormungand the All-Seer, his fangs Alexander the Impenetrable, his limbs Leviathan the Eternal, and his head Bahamir the Limitless. Despite breaking himself apart, Dolan's heart and soul kept beating, creating a supreme dragon who ruled over all others. And yep, that's still Dolan, though he keeps this little secret to himself. The kids listening to the story are hooked. One boy claims he's Bahamut, while a girl proudly declares herself Alexander. Dolan cuts the story short. promising to continue it tomorrow, much to their disappointment. Later, Dolan's friends swing by. Diodora, impressed, asks if he always tells such epic tales. Dolan explains that he made up stories for his brother in the past, but this one was based on real events. Theo jokes that Dolan narrated it so well it sounded like he lived it. Spoiler, he did. As they wander through Varun, Christina remarks on how lively the village feels. Dolan credits the new arrivals from Ainta for boosting morale. Theo thanks Dolan for giving the elves a chance to trade, while Diodora reminds everyone that Dolan and his gang are heroes for defeating the 4 demon knights. Dolan carries a large box. Suddenly, a fanboy elf rushes up to shake Dolan's hand. While others treat Christina like a celebrity, Diodora manages to calm them down, but not before teasing Dolan about being shy around kids despite his legendary status. Selena defends Dolan, only for Diodora to tease her next. Things get wild when Selena freaks out over Diodora's perfume, claiming it's irresistible. Dolan, of course, is left completely confused by the chaos. The group eventually gathers for a meal, and Selena invites Dolan on a hunting trip. He tries to pass, but Selena cheekily reminds him he's been drinking Mew's milk as payment, so he owes her. Diodora jumps in, hyping up the idea, leaving Dolan no choice but to agree. Later that day, Dolan joins Balin and some soldiers for a hunt, where they're hauling a carriage to carry the prey. Selena warns them about a nearby nest of armored bears, so she summons her giant snake companion Jollum to lead the way. Jollum quickly finds the nest, and the soldiers waste no time attacking and killing the mother bear. But when Dolan spots a bear cub nearby, he steps in, upset, asking why they're attacking innocent creatures. He argues that these bears aren't a threat now that the forest is back to normal. Balin doesn't care, saying monsters will always be a danger to humans. He challenges Dolan, asking if he's ready to console families who lose loved ones to these creatures. Balin has no answer, and the hunt continues. Later, Dolan is alone, reflecting on the cruelty of the situation, but Selena just shrugs it off, saying bears are no different than worms. Ouch, that's cold. After the hunt, Dolan returns to his farm and notices his crops looking worse than before. He's confused when his sister Aerie shows up and asks why he's still working the fields. Dolan explains he always does, but Aerie reveals that the elder decided the whole village is leaving Varun. Dolan rushes to the elder, demanding answers. The elder says the villagers don't see a future here and are tired of struggling. Dolan argues that everyone loves their home, but the elder points out that it's just his opinion. Dolan realizes he's alone in his love for Varen, and he feels deeply isolated. The next morning, Dolan watches as families leave the village, and even one couple pulls their baby away from him, treating him like a stranger. At home, Dolan finds an old book that Majoru gave him, telling him to keep it because no one else will need it. Aerie questions why Dolan insists on staying, calling him strange for wanting to protect a place that's being abandoned. Dolan just smiles sadly, saying he wants to protect his homeland. As more people leave, Dolan's parents and brother come to him, asking him to join them. Dolan refuses, promising to stay and care for the village. His mother hugs him, calling him unique, and says he'll be fine on his own. Dolan watches them leave, realizing he's practically the last person left in Varun. Christina calls him stubborn, pointing out that even his family has left. Dolan looks around and feels the emptiness. Later, he visits Selena, who offers him soup made with Mew's milk to cheer him up. She admits her cooking isn't as good as his, but Dolan says he'll miss Mew's milk. He notices her shelves are unusually bare. Just as they're about to talk more, an explosion shakes the air. They rush outside and see Dolan's house engulfed in flames. Well, that escalated quickly. Dolan shows up at his burning house. What does he see? Christina, casually standing there with a lit torch. She's all like, "Yeah, I'm the one who set this on fire. Got some help too." Other villagers join in, holding their own torches, and basically explain that since Dolan insisted on sticking around, they figured burning his house was the best way to get the message across. But Dolan isn't backing down. He's like, "I'm staying in Varen, deal with it." As Christina tries to torch his crops, Dolan stops her and turns to Selena for support. But surprise, surprise, she's packed up and ready to leave the village too. Dolan's furious since they fought side by side to keep this place alive. He begs her to stay, promising they can defeat any monster together. But Christina isn't having any of it. She tells him he's not even human and that being around him is dangerous. Ouch. Dolan falls to his knees, devastated, as the flames consume everything around him. But then, he suddenly finds himself sinking into dark waters, questioning everything. He thought he loved the village, but was it all one-sided? The voice in his head says, "Yep, it was. You were just pretending to be human, but no one ever liked you." When Dolan opens his eyes, he's back in his dragon form at the volcano, with no scars from the hero's sword. He wonders if everything, his life in the village, was just a dream. And yep, the voice confirms it. All of it was an illusion. Turns out Dolan is not human, and his true role is to protect humanity as a dragon. Dolan. Suddenly, Selene appears, startled to see a dragon for the first time. She's confused, but notices something familiar about the creature. It reminds her of Dolan. She doesn't know how this could be possible, but when the dragon speaks her name, she's certain it's her friend. Dolan, now in his dragon form, asks Selene how she ended up there. She explains that before going to sleep, she thought about seeing him first thing in the morning. Somehow, that thought brought her here, though she isn't sure how it worked. Lowering his head, Dolan admits that Selene must have known his secret all along. Selene confirms it, recalling their first meeting when they silenced the spirit of Varun together. After that, they shared soup and came up with a plan for her to be accepted in the village. Thanks to Dolan's help, Selene was warmly welcomed by the villagers and protected whenever she was in danger. Together, they explored the forests of Enti, faced countless adventures, and defeated powerful enemies. Selene reassures him, saying that even though he's strong, no one should face the world alone. She hugs the dragon, remembering how he found her when she was all alone. For that, she'll always be grateful. Similarly, Dolan thanks her for the same reason and promises to take her somewhere safe. Even though Selene knows she's in a dream, she starts to feel sleepy. Before falling asleep again, they both promise to meet in the real world. As soon as she closes her eyes, Selene's form vanishes, evaporating like mist. Now alone, Dolan turns his attention to the voice that's been tormenting him. It's none other than Ayula Karavas, his creator and one of the most wicked goddesses to ever exist. The dragon confronts her, accusing her of trapping him in this nightmare. Karavas smirks, acknowledging that he figured it out faster than she expected. She reveals that she's traveled a great distance just to kill him once and for all. Dolan tells Karavas she showed him quite the nightmare. Karavas isn't having any of it and reminds him that he deserves it. He abandoned her like all the other dragons and gods who gave up their long, boring lives. He wants him, and that's the reason for the whole season. She's seriously pissed and asks how Dolan could just give up on life. Dolan agrees with her. Yeah, he did give up when he was a dragon. But after coming back as a human and meeting people who actually care about him, he realized he wasn't done living. He says he didn't have the guts to keep going as a dragon, but as a human, he's gonna live his life to the fullest and face whatever comes his way without backing down. Karavas laughs at him like he's spitting out cheesy lines from a bad movie. She tells him he won't get what he wants that easily. She's in control here. It's her dream world and she's invincible. She splits the ground open, and from the magma, she summons this horrifying eldritch dragon, the same one that gave Dolan and the hero hell in the past. Dolan, however, doesn't even let her finish her villain speech. He just smacks her and the ugly dragon with a tail swipe and punches a hole right through it. Boom, dragon's toast. Dolan then makes a joke about needing to wash his eyes with toilet cleaner to forget the image of that thing. He tells Karavas to get lost and punches her again. She tries to stop him by apologizing, but it's too late. She eats the punch. Somehow, she survives and starts crying, saying it's so unfair that Dolan's so strong, even after reincarnating. Dolan drops the truth bomb on her. His soul's the same, even though he's human now. Then he tells her something even worse. The evil gods cursed him with eternal reincarnation, meaning with each rebirth, his soul degrades more and more until it vanishes completely. Karavas is a little shaken, even though they've been enemies forever. She actually feels bad for him and says she considers him a friend, which, honestly, Dolan feels the same way. The evil goddess, who's been lurking in the background, overhears this and flies off, all happy that Dolan still has a friend. His dream finally ends, and he wakes up in his bed. Sel pops up outside his window, ready to wake him up, and Dolan just groans, saying he had a bad dream. He asks her what she'd do if she saw an armored bear during a hunt, and Sel, being all sensitive, says she'd use her magic eyes to send it home, because avoiding fights is the smart move. Dolan laughs, realizing that this is the real world, not some dream. After that, they head to the pub where Chris is chugging down some cow woman's milk. Dolan announces he's going to attend the Magic Academy, which makes Sel a little sad. Chris, curious about his change of heart, asks what happened. Dolan tells her he had a dream where their village got destroyed and he realized he needed to learn more of the academy to protect it. Next, Dolan heads to the city for the entrance exams, and while everyone's cheering him on, Sel's just worried he won't come back to her. At the exam, Dolan breezes through the questions using an ancient formula, which gets Carvis, who shows up just to mess with him, calling him a boomer. She snuggles up to him, but Dolan's not having it, so he decides to meditate to ignore her. His examiner catches him and loses it, snatching his answer sheet and postponing Dolan's practical exam to the next day. Dolan's screwed-up expression is priced. Meanwhile, back in the village, Sel, our monster girl with a big heart, is on a hunt with the knights. But instead of focusing on the hunt, she's daydreaming about Dolan. Captain Balin snaps her out of it, and Sel thinks they're under attack. She unleashes her magic in full force, accidentally roasting her fellow knights' egos. Feeling bad about it, she goes home to read a children's book, because apparently that's how she unwinds. The book reminds her of how Dolan taught her to read, and she starts wondering if he's doing well at the academy. She dreams of joining him, but thinks her monster form will freak everyone out. She finds herself unable to escape him even for a minute. Sel decides to focus on her mission, to find a husband, as per Lamia tradition. But guess who keeps popping into her mind? Yep, Dolan. It finally hits her. She loves him. But Sel also thinks he'll never leave his village life, so she decides to leave first, before The next day, Dolan finishes his exam and rushes to Sel's house, only to find it empty. She's left 2 letters, one for the villagers and one for him. In his letter, Sel writes that she's off on a journey to find a husband, and that she couldn't face him to say goodbye. Dolan freaks out, transforms into a dragon, because why not, and flies to... By evening, Sel is miles away, resting and still thinking about Dolan. Suddenly, she spots something huge flying overhead. It's so huge, it becomes a hurling V8 spaceship. Before she can process it, Dolan appears right next to Sel, and she freaks out like she just saw a ghost, except it's her crush turned dragon turned stalker. To make things even more awkward, he casually starts walking beside her like they're on some romantic stroll. Sel, trying to keep her cool, is probably thinking, why does this guy always show up at the most dramatic moments? They eventually reach the lake where they first met, and Sel gets all sentimental, saying it feels like they've known each other forever, even though it's only been a few months. Out of nowhere, he starts rambling about his academy exam. Sel's probably thinking, okay, why are we talking about school now? Then, now comes the twist. Dolan looks at Sel with those earnest eyes and says he wants her to be his familiar, so she can come with him to the academy. Sel can't believe what she's hearing. It's like her wildest dream is coming true, but instead of embracing it, she yells at Dolan, reminding him that Lamias are human-eating monsters. If people see him hanging out with her, they'll freak out, hate him, and turn his student life into a living nightmare. Dolan goal? He's not backing down. He boldly declares, if anyone dares talk trash about you, I'll deal with them myself. Classic hero move, right? But Sel insists he shouldn't waste his time defending her, then promptly slips into the lake mid-argument. Smooth. Salt. Real smooth. Dolan dives in to save her, but even as she's dripping wet, Sel keeps trying to push him away, saying he'd be better off without her. That's when Dolan delivers his heartfelt speech. He says he doesn't care if people hate him or if he ends up friendless. All he wants is to explore the world with her by his side. Sel is so moved she bursts into tears and hugs him, finally admitting she wants to go with him too. Back in the village, Dolan gets the good news. He passed his entrance exam. The local witch steps in to create a magical contract between Dolan and Sel, officially making them partners. Sel is delighted, knowing she'll be with Dolan every step of the way. The whole village gathers to see them off, including a redhead Loli who has a crush on Dolan. She tells Sel she'll join the academy next year and asks her to take care of Dolan in the meantime. Sel probably thinks, oh great, another rival. As the carriage leaves, Dolan gets emotional, promising the villagers he'll rush back to protect them if anything happens. He even tears up, which Sel wipes away like the softie she secretly is. But just as Sel starts daydreaming about her new life as Dolan's lover, reality smacks her. She realizes that when Dolan asked her to stay by his side, he probably just meant as a friend. Ouch. She's a bit crushed, but doesn't let it show. Dolan then mentions how much he'd love to visit her village one day and jokes that he hopes she doesn't get bored of him before then. Sel just smiles, thinking about the exciting journey ahead. Sel takes a drink from the bottle but decides to give it to Dolan. They follow the others out and down the mountain. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe and check out the next video. It's just as awesome as Dolan's dragon transformation.